a lot of people know me as the doctor that did that stuff during COVID. But what they don't know is my story is one of overcoming and giving back. My mind was my way out. And I was fortunate that as a young person, I was always striving for something more. I stood up to the mayor, and we're friends now, Mayor Kenny, because he said, I can't afford to give the vaccine to Black people because they don't trust it, and we can't afford to waste it.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Another day's journey, so glad about it and so grateful for you joining me for another Real Talk with Pastor Waller. Well, we are in it now. We're having the conversations with those who are considering being candidates for the third congressional seat here in Philadelphia. We know that this seat has always been held by someone who is wonderful to our community, Shaka Fatah, Dwight Evans. That's my experience. I've been here 30 years. And now, as Dwight Evans is stepping down or not going to run for re-election, it's up for grabs. And we know how important the congressional seat is. What I wanted to do, and just to remind you from a couple of weeks ago, I wanted to have a conversation. So we sent word out to everyone running. And then we got word back from those who were willing to come on, and I'm grateful. And so today we are coming to have a conversation with Dr. Alyn Stanford. Now, it is not my responsibility to tell you who, but to tell you that. But I cannot ignore also the context I have with all of them. Each one of them are capable persons. I had the joy of doing some significant work with Dr. Alyn during COVID. And so I am grateful for that particular relationship and how she has served our community. But now she's coming to talk about serving in another capacity. So today we have Dr. Alyn Stanford. Want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being on Real Talk. How are you doing?
I feel well, feel blessed. Woke up to see a day I've never seen before, so.
That's it. So listen, you're Dr. Alyn Stanford.
Indeed.
The COVID thing, you were there. You were part of the answer. I'd like to think that I was on your team in that experience. And we, as not only the city, but as a real country, are grateful for that effort.
Absolutely.
And as a pediatric surgeon is your training. And for all that you have done. And so now the real question is, with all that back there and with all that affording you many opportunities, why the congressional seat? What do you understand about that, and why do you want to do it?
So first, thank you for having me. It's always great to be back at Enon. My default is to serve.
Okay.
And I am a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people know me as the doctor that did that stuff during COVID. But what they don't know is my story is one of overcoming and giving back. I was born at Broad and Alyn, grew up at 18th and Erie. I was the SNAP benefit kid, so we used food stamps. On a day like today, we were boiling hot water on the stove to put it in our bathtub. We were ironing our sheets in the wintertime. My mom waited in line a lot for food, for jobs. And I was a Title I kid. Because I was smart, I was part of the mentally gifted, academically talented, which meant I got a bag of tokens. And I got to go to a different part of the city, from North Philly or Germantown to Penn and Drexel's campus. When I got there, I was like, this is a different world. How can I get this? And I realized education was my way out. Congressman Shaka Fatah, who you mentioned, granted me a scholarship because I was smart enough and poor enough. That's how you qualified.
Yeah.
And that's how I went to Penn State and became the first Black woman pediatric surgeon entirely trained in the United States. When I was done, so people don't know that.
Right.
They assume, oh, she's a doctor, she's got this, she got that. you know.
Entirely trained in the United States, and you're
Entirely
the
trained.
first Black woman
That is correct, sir.
pediatric surgeon.
That is correct.
Wow.
That is correct. And to come from nothing in a city where we are the top 5 in terms of the poorest cities in America, but there are so many bright, beautiful children here that don't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about, and I'm going to get into the other things, but when I talk about education and Title I, my mind was my way out. And I was fortunate that as a young person, I was always striving for something more. And I want to be able to give that back when I talk about education funding and restoring our Department of Education. But back to servant leader.
Yeah.
As a pediatric surgeon, one patient, one family at a time. During COVID, when people were calling me from my family in North and West Philly saying, Ayla, folks are turning me away, I couldn't just sit on the couch. And I was comfortable sheltering in place. As you mentioned, I'm a physician.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could do more, and I called on everyone to help me. And I called on elected officials. I have to mention State Senator Art Haywood, Congressman Dwight Evans. They did what they could to help. But then I was like, we need something faster. Where do Black people trust? Because we were dying at a rate 3 to 4 times greater.
Yeah.
I called my pastor, Pastor Mitchell. What we going to do? Because previously he and I had been in Haiti on mission trips, building hospitals in fields of dirt. So I said to him, I can build it in a parking lot, but I don't know the churches. So he reached out to you, and he reached out to churches all over the city, but it was scientifically done. I went to the zip codes where the positivity rate was the highest.
Right.
And then he came and said, all she needs is your electricity, the bathroom, and your parking lot to build a hospital.
That's right. Yeah.
And from there with you, Reverend Miles, I mean, we did this collectively.
That's where I like to say where you gave me COVID. I was just taking the test.
Saying that. Oh my God.
I was just taking the test to model.
You were.
Yeah. And I got it when it was scary.
You did. Right. And so often people forget that. And I'm not going to focus on that. We're going to talk about what I've done beyond it.
Absolutely.
But I have to remind folks that I was a private citizen. I was not an elected official. It was not my responsibility. But I love this city. This city made me. And I knew as a physician that I had the wherewithal to get something done, right? And I have to say, Hakeem Jeffries in New York, a legislator, emulated what we were doing in Philadelphia. And he got all the urgent cares together, all the Black churches together, and in every borough, he mimicked, which is the greatest form of flattery, what we were doing in Philly. So you didn't have to be a doctor, but you had to be intentional about helping people who were hurt. So we take care of 100,000 people during COVID. And so now when Congressman Evans announced he's retiring, my phone started ringing off the hook from people in D.C., my former bosses. I forgot to mention, and we'll get to that, I was appointed by President Biden in a leadership role to be the regional director for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And that's where I really got my policy and legislative experience. And it wasn't just Philly, it was all of Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland that I was responsible for overseeing in Health and Human Services. So those folks in D.C. were like, Ayla, it's time. You have the platform, you have the story, you have the name recognition, you have business acumen, and people, you've earned the trust. And for me, people know my name from serving. I see myself as a servant leader and a trusted messenger. And so prior to all this, I started a nonprofit 15 years ago called It Takes Philly, encouraging and empowering our children to aim high. That was my version of giving children with the least what I had the opportunity. So we went to all the lowest performing schools in Philly with Superintendent Height and later with Watlington to say, we're here, we want to share with students the pathway to achieve different things. Little did I know that infrastructure with the nonprofit I started 15 years ago would be what I needed during COVID, again, from serving others. And so now at the congressional level, it's same mission, same drive, higher stakes, and at scale. And I believe with my my lived experience for the things that I fight for and will continue to fight for as Congresswoman is what prepares me. When you look at the 3rd Congressional District, we've got the poorest and the richest and everybody in between. I haven't earned success, and I've been at both spectrums. And when you go to any part of this city, there's not one person that can't say thank you for how you touched us. Black, white, rich, poor, Asian, Latino, it doesn't matter, And so that's why.
Okay. Thank you for that. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of your medical background. You responded to a medical need.
Yes, sir.
Now, this thing, as we know about politics in Philly, but politics in general,
yes,
it's an ugly world. And so sitting in the seat of the congressman, what can you do? What do you understand the job of the congressman to be, and what can you do for the community from that position?
So my job is to legislate, meaning to bring forth law that improves the lives of Philadelphians. That's everything from housing to education to the cost of groceries and childcare. Of course, it's affordable and expert medical care, I believe, in your community. It's also protecting the immigrants. For me, it's important. Reproductive rights are important. It's our environment. It's safety. And those are just a few of the things that I plan to, but it's how do you put that into law? Now, we can scream and have rhetoric and say, get rid of this and abolish that, but what are you putting on paper that people will subsequently follow? So number 1 is to legislate. Number 2 is to bring money to our communities, to have standing edifices that live beyond us, that you're actually putting roots down. So that's the infrastructure. And it's not just the roads and, of course, SEPTA and we need less potholes in our street, but it's also building things in our communities that create a legacy for education, for the church, for, after school programs, for apprenticeships and entrepreneurships. And that goes to knowing what's happening at a grassroots level and having a relationship with the city and the state, because the three of us collectively at the federal level, the state level, and the city level can get things done when we're working in concert together. Yeah. And so certainly having relationships which I do with Governor Shapiro and also with our mayor, Sherelle Parker, which I can say I'll never forget. We sat here on a hot day in July. You were there, and the mayor finally decided he was going to support our efforts. And she said, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And I appreciated her and many others on city council speaking out for us during that time to get the funding we needed to take care of the people.
Thank you for that. So,
and one more.
Go ahead.
Business.
All right.
The business acumen. What I built a health center. Right. So that triumph over tragedy during COVID is at 21st and Lehigh now, and a second location on State Road that came from one of the toughest times in American history, not just Philadelphia history, but recognizing that community needed something more that it was devoid of having. And so with having that center there, we continue to serve others. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's what I was trying. It slipped me. Making payroll is real. Being able to balance a budget is real. And I had as many as 200 employees and now between 30 and 40 employees that I have to make sure they can feed their families, that I have health benefits for them. And I pay everyone $25 an hour or more above the minimum wage without federal funding. So everything is contracts. We don't have any dedicated funding. I have to hustle for that to provide Medicare for all, meaning you got insurance, we take you. You got nothing, we take you. You're an immigrant, we take care of you, right? And so that business acumen is also something that is unique that I'll also be bringing.
Got you. Thank you for that.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I the reason I do programming like this is
Yes,
because
sir.
I think our community, everybody needs Civics 101. Because when we are upset with a thing, we don't always know where to lay it at whose feet. I
Who's
mean,
accountable?
and so you mentioned a number of things. When we look at whether it's a pothole in the street or a new building going up, what is the stuff that the congressman really weighs in on?
Right.
Is there something around here that we could say, that is what Dwight did, or that's what Shaka did, or that's what a congressman is supposed to deliver on or can deliver on? Could you help somebody understand why you and why we even need a congressman?
Such an excellent question. And I'm going to use my story, if I might.
Okay.
I am a product of federal assistance. For me and my family, welfare was a bridge, not a crutch. What I mean by that is we were Section 8 housing. Spent my summers in Abbotsford projects.
Okay.
So now, and I've met with PHA, there's HUD housing. So funding that Philadelphia Housing Authority, money that comes in that allows you to stay in your home, because the home you're living in, or that maybe someone left you, to be able to restore that is stability. How we measure wealth in this country is by home ownership. And so that's number one. How do you see that? Is by us having more homeowners and fewer renters, right? That's wealth. So that's something you could see individually. Education, Title I funding is where the funds go into underserved schools. And for students like myself and many of our kids today, it's where you get heat or air conditioning, which they're still struggling with. It's where they get their meals. It's where they're nurtured. And many times where they receive, and I don't mean traditional therapy, but their teachers really rallying around and giving them the support they may not be getting in the home, right? And then also the Title I and the Gear Up was how I was able to go to college. So you think about, had I not had that funding from Congressman Shaka Fattah, I wouldn't be a Dr. Alyn Stanford that in 2020 could come through in a pandemic, that could build a health center, that could be teaching now at University of Pennsylvania, educating the next generation of empathetic leaders, right? That all came from federal funding, right?
Gotcha.
The after-school programs, the summer, we used to go to summer camp. We used to swim. Now you can't get a lifeguard, right? But that's what kept us safe. That also kept the crime rates down, right? So it's all a continuum. It was also part of our mental health and support. And so one thing that I did do as in HHS, because we're talking about mental health, is there used to be this really long hotline for when you had an emergency. So we introduced 988, that legislation, right? And that brought in more for mental health. Also with women, infants, and children, back to you saying, how do we see it? It's how we feed our families. There was an infant formula shortage when I was in the federal government, and I was responsible for getting supplies to many young people who were watering down the formula so it would stretch. And as long as it was white, they were giving it to their babies. But that's too much water, and it causes brain swelling, and we were losing our babies. I was part of that. But because I know what's happening in the street, I bring that to the federal level. Now I'm making sure that people are educated and they're getting their resources. And then finally is the infrastructure, the money that can come into building things. I was fortunate that Congressman Brendan Boyle and Congressman Dwight Evans, when we had the recovery funds from COVID, were able to put into building. And now we're building an imaging center that we're breaking ground this year, which will have mammogram, CT scan, ultrasound, and x-ray. Instead of every time we would have the van come, and you guys do it too, to do mammography or colon cancer screening,
That's right.
Someone is positive. What if we had that every day? 7 days a week. You wouldn't even have to be our patient. You could just come in, there's ample parking, and get your screening so we could reduce those cancer rates. And so those are examples of, as a congressperson, and I know, because Congressman Boyle helped, Congressman Evans helped, Congressman Fatah put me through school,
Mm-hmm.
And so those are tangible things that the community can see, that you have control over what gets brought into the
Got you.
community.
Thank you for that. Leadership matters. And I believe that leaders, this is me now, I believe leaders are born, not made. You can be a good leader or a bad leader, but whether you're a leader or not, it's in you or it's not in you. And it's in you. So to the critic, sort of supportive person that says, you're right, and you've done all that, and a lot of that happened, Ayla Stanford, it's because of you and your medical background. And what happens to all that good work if you end up in D.C. as a congressman?
Yes.
Then what happens to that? How are you ensuring that what you've built is going to be there if you take the next step?
Yes. Dang, Pastor Waller. Just off the top, you're just going. So I have a great succession plan.
Okay.
I've already been planning it in the works. I wouldn't even, you may remember there was a time when I was being considered for a health commissioner of the city of Philadelphia.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I removed my name because we had contracts. The Black Doctors Consortium had contracts with the city of Philadelphia, and there would have been a direct conflict of interest for that.
Yeah.
And so I had to remove my name because I knew it meant professionally it might have been, a promotion of sorts for me, but it would mean that the community that I was serving was going to lose that. And we were just getting on our feet and everything. And I could tell you, I shed tears for that. I was like, man, finally, I'm going to get this job to be in government, to be able to do some things, to work with the mayor. And I had to let it go because I knew that the people needed what we were building more. Then what happens? I get appointed by President Biden.
Right.
So
right.
I believe it's all divine intervention. Had I taken that job, then I would have had to, resign and then take this one, and people be like, oh, she can't make up her mind. But I believe that when you're always doing what's right, and for me, my focus is always on the people, then it will come. It will come. And then look at the experience. Now I have this federal experience that had I taken the other position, I would not have had, right?
Got you.
So,
Thank you.
So I say that to say we just keep building. We're expanding. We now have pediatrics, psychiatry, and we represent everyone, but we have some Black psychiatrists and Black therapists, which are in shortage. We've got our adults, we've got nutrition, and I'm the medical director at the Riverview Wellness Village that Mayor Parker created, where we have our unhoused with substance use disorder and mental health. We just celebrated 1 year, and we are transforming people's lives. Again, the least and the lost. And you will know the Bible verse better that talks about the poor widow, right? And the poor widow who gave her 2 cents, and that God favored that greatly, more greatly, because that was all she had versus someone who was giving out of surplus or abundance. And I see myself when I give, even though people see the shiny and I look nice and all of that, you never forget what it's like to iron your sheets in the wintertime. Don't forget that. And so when I am giving of myself, it's from here.
Yep.
It's not, and again, it wasn't my job. All that stuff during COVID, nobody was paying me for that. It wasn't my job. I put myself out there and risk, and I went to my pastor, who fortunately is a visionary. And so when I said to him, we're going to take care of Philadelphia, he wasn't like, you crazy, that's not going to work.
That's right.
Now, a lot of people did say that's not going to work. But I knew based on what we had done in Haiti and the conditions we were in taking care of folks, that he wasn't going to see it as crazy. And he was my outreach, because we knew each other, but not like we know each other now.
Exactly.
And he was my trust to get into those spaces until I could earn the trust. And so it all happens for a reason.
Thank you for that. And shout out Marshall Mitchell. And his grandfather was a pastor of this church. His grandfather was about the 5th pastor of Enon back in 1917.
Okay.
And as a politician who you're in the political realm now, and you use scripture, I'm always nervous when politicians go to scripture. You actually got it right.
Oh, okay.
Shout out Marshall Mitchell. Anyhow, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think people need to know as they begin to consider this third congressional race?
I would say, yes, it's a Democratic seat, and some even call it a safe seat.
Yeah.
But it matters who you put in it. You need someone who I believe is committed to the people, not ready for the next promotion or this is the next thing I'm supposed to do, but is just ready to stand up. And I stood up to the mayor, and we're friends now, Mayor Kenny, because he said, I can't afford to give the vaccine to Black people because they don't trust it, and we can't afford to waste it. I had to stand up to fight for that, for us that were dying at higher rates. I stood in Enon's parking lot. Pastor Waller allowed me in February of 2021, I'll never forget, because when the city gave the contract to the wrong people, and then we took care of everyone, the Black Doctors Consortium, then we started getting people coming into North Philadelphia in fancy cars, and I never saw that. And I stood up by myself, a press conference of one, and I said, do not come to these communities and take from those who don't have another option. For you to come from your comfortable shelter-in-place location and then take the vaccine and go back to the location where you can be in your bubble does not help the transmission rates go down. You're taking from the people who are keeping this city running by doing that. 2 weeks later, the city of Philadelphia said, yes, we're going to oversample from the zip codes with the highest disease rates. But I stood up for us. And that's what I'll continue to do in Congress. I truly have no fear at this point in my life except for the fear of God. And I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be for a time such as this. And if you give me the opportunity once again to earn your trust, earn your vote, and earn your support, you will not be disappointed.
Listen, let's get ready to go to God in prayer. God, I bless you and I thank you. I thank you for Dr. Alyn Stanford. I thank you, Lord, for what you are doing in this city right now. I pray, oh God, that as we all consider this next seat, Lord, that you will help us make right decisions that honor you and that serve our people. Lord, I pray for Alyn. I pray for her family. I pray for the run. And I also pray that when this is over, that no one will have been injured emotionally, spiritually, physically, but that the best person will sit in the seat and that our city would be the better for it. Now, as we get ready to go, we would that you go with us, stand by us until we meet again. We ask it in the matchless, marvelous, and majestic name of Jesus the Christ. And for his sake we do pray. Let us all say, amen. God bless you and God keep you is my prayer.